You are listening to Torah Treasures, a messianic perspective on the weekly Torah portion, featuring Rabbi Jason Sobel.
This week's Torah portion contains a double reading. It contains Parashat Vayakhel and Parashat Pekudei. It begins in Exodus chapter 35, verse 1, and ends in Exodus 40, verse 38. Why were the leaders of the children of Israel the last to bring their donations for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle? Is there anything in the text that would imply this is a good or a bad thing? What lessons in leadership can we learn from this episode? The fact that the leaders were the last to bring their gifts for the construction of the tabernacle seems a bit conspicuous since they are the first to donate at its inauguration, Numbers chapter 7. The Midrash takes note of this fact and offers some interesting insights that teach us a lot about the nature of leadership. Initially, according to Exodus Rabbah, the Nisim, the leaders of the tribe of Israel, wanted to donate all the materials necessary to build the entire Mishkan, tabernacle. They presumptuously assumed that the Lord would prefer to dwell in a place made completely from their offerings, since they perceive themselves as being more spiritual than the majority of the congregation. Exodus Rabbah 12 and 19. Moses, however, made it abundantly clear that God wanted the materials to come from the free will offerings of the entire congregation. Exodus 35, verse 4 and 5. The people gave so graciously in response to the Lord's command that Moses requested that the people stop bringing their donations after just 2 days. Exodus 36, verse 7. This greatly grieved the tribal leaders, for it became apparent to them that their gifts were no longer necessary for the building of the actual tabernacle. Commenting on this point, Sifrei writes, "At the construction of the tabernacle, the leaders smugly said, 'Let the assembly of the people give whatever they will donate, and whatever is lacking we will give to complete the necessary amount.' But when the people donated everything that was necessary, as it says, the materials were more than enough. The leaders said, 'What is there left for us to contribute?' So they brought the shoham stones. Therefore, at the dedication of the altar, they were the first to donate. And because they were tardy at the building of the tabernacle, a letter Yud, the smallest Hebrew letter, is missing from their title. For in this passage, the word Neseim, leaders, is written without the first Yud as a sign of divine disapproval." From a rabbinic perspective, it is clear that the tribal leaders erred in the sight of God by waiting to donate their gifts. This view is based upon the defective spelling of the word leaders, which never occurs in this form elsewhere in scriptures, and upon the fact that number 7 devotes a seemingly disproportionate amount of attention on the tribal leaders' offerings at the dedication of the tabernacles, 75 verses to be exact. The repetitive nature of number 7 makes more sense when viewed as trying to demonstrate that Israel's leaders were making amends for their previous mistake. The first lesson we learn about leadership from this passage and the tradition that surrounds it is that true leaders seek to empower people to serve the Lord. Great leaders do not seek to do all the work alone, but rather see themselves as equippers who teach and empower others to do the work of the kingdom. Shaul, the Apostle Paul, underscores this point in Ephesians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13. And he gave some to be shluchim, apostles, some to be nevi'im, prophets, some to be proclaimers of the good news, some to be shepherds, and others to be teachers. The responsibility is to equip God's people to do his work and build up the kehillah, the congregation, the body of Messiah, until we come to such unity in our faith and knowledge of God's Son that we will be mature and full grown in the Lord, measuring up to the full stature of Messiah. A second important leadership lesson that we learn is that true leaders lead by example. It was a big failure on a part of the tribal leaders to stand idly by, not being the first to bring their gifts joyfully. Rather, they should have demonstrated their zeal for the Lord and His commandments. The mark of a great leader is his or her ability to influence, inspire, and develop the people around them into being better leaders and individuals. This, however, can only be achieved when one leads by example. Like Messiah Yeshua, we must live lives that people want to emulate. Third, leaders should be quick to admit to and learn from their mistakes. Like the leaders of Israel, we must demonstrate that we have learned from our mistakes by doing the exact opposite when we are put in a similar situation. The leaders of Israel clearly demonstrated they had learned their lesson by being the first to bring lavish gifts at the inauguration of the Mishkan, the tabernacle.